And so I want to just kind of quickly review the types of contingency plans that exist out there, and really what they mean, and so that we're talking about the right terminology with regards to the types of plans that exist out there. So here's a few. There's not all of them. I think I left out probably two that are more tailored to the federal environment, but these are ones that are valuable to develop within an organization in general, right? So you have a business continuity plan, which is often what people tend to think of when they're talking about contingency planning. With regards to definition, this is specifically about a process disruption. And when I say process disruption, you can think of maybe your payroll process or maybe your customer service process. So a policy that's generated, or a plan that's generated from a continuity standpoint, is how would you go about intervening if there is a breakdown in that process? Say, for example, your payroll department is, I'm trying to think of an example. Your payroll department is interrupted in some way. Do you have a method to maybe outsource that service so that it's not disrupted if there's an issue with that process, right?
That's a really good example. I think, imagine you're the payroll department, and the software platform you use to pay people doesn't work, right? So your process is disruptive. So the plan would be how to evaluate that, how to respond to it, how to communicate with stakeholders on that, and then how to restore operations, whether that's using a third-party system or cutting paper checks or whatever it is. Exactly. And that's what that is. And Patrick's definition of the process disruption there in the slide is very, very important. I think that's a great way to look at it.
Yeah, and so the next one would be a continuity of operations plan. This one's going to be very similar to a disaster recovery plan, but a continuity of operations plan is really a temporary disruption to probably your main office. If you're thinking about your corporate office, say, for example, there's an ice storm, which is pretty common in the Texas area, where you can't get to the office, but you have a continuity of operations plan where you're able to continue your normal operations, but potentially in an alternate fashion, whether it's like working from home or working from another office, but continuing your operations just in a temporary manner. And this really is the 30-day timeline, which is within 30 days. That's when this type of plan would be enacted.
Yeah, and for anybody from out of Texas that is listening to this and heard that something common in Texas is ice storms and it's problematic. It's problematic for us in Texas because we don't have the infrastructure to support getting around the city and a power grid that supports ice storms. So that just to explain that to anybody in the north part of the United States or anywhere else,
it always laughs at us.
Why would that be a disruption for you? Well, we are once our roads are iced over, we're in trouble around here.
Yeah, so. Yeah, or flooding for that matter.
Yes.
Crisis communication plans. This is really more to do with who's in charge of communicating stuff, either internally or externally. Oftentimes, this is kind of a PR plan. So if you have some sort of disruption or some sort of problem with your organization, how that's communicated out to the public, potentially, who's in charge of answering those questions, those sort of things, right? So that's typically important when something goes down, maybe like you guys get hacked or systems down for an extended period of time. Who internally is providing updates and who is then maybe communicating that stuff out to your clients.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely. That one's super important because sometimes it's required that your attorneys be involved, or it's required that you pull in a PR firm or whatever to deliver the message, especially external to your organization. So once that plan's in place, you refer to the plan. Once you have an incident, you go, okay, this is the group or this is the person that's going to communicate externally. That can be a very big deal if the wrong people get out sharing information that you don't intend to get out. So super important stuff.
And then we're moving on to the disaster recovery plan. Again, this one's a common plan that people tend to think of. Now, when we define what a disaster recovery plan is, this is actually a physical disruption to your office space or headquarters. Typically, this means it's like a major physical disruption. This would be like your building burned down, or like there's nothing left and you need to be able to bring up all of your systems in an alternate fashion at another location. So this is really more than 30 days. If you find that your office space or your building isn't habitable within 30 days, would be the continuity of operations plan. The disaster recovery plan would be really what you guys do in a major scenario where you have to rebuild everything, and it's going to take you maybe a couple of months to do that, right?
Mm-hmm.